when I saw this trailer, I was getting pretty excited going, oh my god, Star Wars Eclipse. We're finally seeing some of it. Cool. Sweet. And then I saw Fate, and I was like, oh, okay, they renamed it. Awesome. And then of the Old Republic. Can we just get that remake instead? It's now I have 3 games I'm waiting for.
One of the big reveals during the Game Awards was a brand new Star Wars video game. And it's called Fate of the Old Republic, and it comes from Casey Hudson, who is the creative director for the original Knights of the Old Republic and worked on the Mass Effect trilogy, and has started a new studio. And this game they're working on this game. Unfortunately, the studio was founded just like earlier this year. So this game is a ways off, and I feel like there is some complicated feelings about that. Like, I feel like there's some well-earned cynicism around it, because this is a big, huge, gorgeous, shiny CG trailer that kind of teases what this game could possibly be. But with the long tail on game development, I don't think it's unreasonable for people to be like, why are you showing us this now? What is the point of revealing this? And I mean, short answer is that when trailers like this get released so that studios can staff up and so they can kind of build some awareness around the game, drum up some hype, and obviously get some people to throw money at them to finish the project. But unfortunately, projects like this take like 7 years to make. So people are like, all right, it's almost 2026. When are we going to be playing this game? Are we going to be playing this game in 2030, which is what was kind of speculated by Jason Schreier. He went up on Blue Sky and said, Lucasfilm says the studio was founded this year, which means that 2030 is an optimistic guess. Maybe it'll be a PlayStation 7 game. And kind of Casey Hudson followed up and was like, we'll get it out before then. I'm not getting any younger, so everyone's like, okay, so it's going to be out in 2029. I'm just really skeptical of this, because I feel like it has kind of everything working against it, because it's, people are looking at it like it is a KOTOR spiritual successor. Friendly reminder, they announced a KOTOR remake in 2021, and we still have not seen anything from that. They also announced Star Wars Eclipse, a David Cage Star Wars game. Haven't seen anything from that. How many Star Wars movies have they announced that have not materialized whatsoever? I think
there's also Star Wars Zero Company, which another studio, we got one trailer for that. We haven't seen anything on that one yet. There are so many Star Wars projects in the work, and there's been so many canceled, like you said, like 1313, anybody? There's I'm very excited at the idea of finally getting a new Knights of the Old Republic style game. But man, this is so far off of my radar that I'm not even going to think about this game until it's at the Game Awards and it's got in 2028. Like, I'm not even thinking about this game till then. I was excited because from the intro, I was like, oh, this looks very Mass Effect. There's 3 people walking on this planet. This planet is very barren. This has a very Mass Effect kind of vibe. Cool, we're finally going to see something that's new Mass Effect. And it was Star Wars, and I was like, that's cool, but also, what we've been saying, it's so far away. It's so far away.
Far be it from me to be sort of cynical about something like this, because I generally feel like, and Max has been there with me, we have been optimistic about Star Wars stuff way past when everyone stopped doing that. Like there was a couple, I feel like The Last Jedi came out and people just stopped liking that franchise, period. And then
we had Acolyte last year, which was great, and I loved, and was a champion.
It was okay. We had Andor last year, this year, I guess, which was phenomenal. And then
I'm just a Manny Jacinto fan. I can't help
no, his character was awesome, and I wish we got more of it. No, it's been weird. Like, when Outlaws came out, I was optimistic about it while also addressing the fact that it launched it in kind of rough spot, right? And it's in a really good place now, and I loved all the DLC. I think that if you slept on that game, you see it's regularly really cheap now, and you just want a big fun open world game to play over the holiday break. Just get that, because that is a real game that exists. It's out. And you know, it doesn't have Jedis and stuff in it, but it does have all the other parts of Star Wars I really love. And I don't know, like I don't believe it. I just don't, like, I know this is a real game. At one point people will be playing it, but I find it really hard to get excited about these projects now that are like 6-7 years away. They're cinematic trailers. Like Max said, the Quantic Dream Star Wars game, that has just been a Windows Media Player file you can play in VLC for like 6 years now. Like it's that. Until it's a thing that I'm playing with my hands on a controller, then I'm like, cool, great proof of concept. I hope you hire a bunch of people. I hope, you know, it looks really blah 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 blah. But I don't buy it yet. We've been covering, you know, Star Wars at IGN since IGN started, and since the whatever Rise of Sky, whatever that talk shit movie was called, came out. They've announced like 11 different Star Wars movies that haven't come to fruition with, you know, Taika Waititi. They had there was James Mangold. There was the Game of Thrones guys were supposed to do one. Rian Johnson was supposed to do 3 of them, and then he just made 3 mystery movies about like Scooby-Doo instead. And by the way, the new one is like 2.5 hours long. That's too long for a whodunit. I'm sorry. Those teenagers on Scooby-Doo would have had that locked up in
Star Wars
20 minutes. Star Wars. It's really hard to get excited for something until it's actually here with a lot of this stuff now. It's like so much of our jobs and so much of this industry and so much of being a fan of video games now is just waiting and waiting and waiting for like these really long development cycles. We used to get like Jada, you mentioned Uncharted earlier. We used to get 2 or 3 of those in a generation. We used to get 2 or 3 BioShocks. We would get, you know, 2 or 3 Mass Effects or whatever it was, right?
We had Batman Arkham Asylum to Arkham City, like a year apart. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and so it's hard now. It's hard to be, you know, and that's not me being a hater. That's not me being just like negative or pessimistic on this. I'm just being real. Like these games take too long to come out, and when I saw this cinematic trailer, I stood up and I was watching the Game Awards with my kid, and we were just looking at each other and just saying, Star Wars? Is it Star Wars? Is it Star Wars? Yes, it's Star Wars. Like once I started seeing the little DNA, right? And I'm like, oh, it's kind of Leia's haircut, and there's a back of a ship or something like that. I was like, cool. And then it just hit me like, oh, it's just you made a movie. You made a short, you know, you made a short film. Yeah. You made a short film. Cool.
So, yeah.
Go
ahead.
I will admit that like when I saw this trailer, I was getting pretty excited going, oh my god, Star Wars Eclipse, we're finally seeing some of it. Cool, sweet. And then I saw Fate and I was like, oh, okay, they renamed it, awesome. And then of the Old Republic, and I was like, can we just get that remake instead? It's now I have 3 games I'm waiting for.
Do you know how
I'm forgetting another one?
Do you know how irritated I have to be disappointed this isn't a David Cage game? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just honestly, like, I'm okay. Like a KOTOR remake, that sounds great. I'm fascinated. Again, the whole idea of a remake, like remaking it depends what you're remaking. If it's a fairly linear 8 to 10 hour game, okay, it's still a lot of work. You got to remake the whole thing. Remaking a massive sprawling RPG, there's a lot of moving parts there. That's a much bigger undertaking. Obviously, the KOTOR remake has taken a while. I don't know what's going on with David Cage's Eclipse thing, but the fact that this is a whole brand new thing, they've got to write a whole RPG. They've got to make all the tagline is fate is in your hands. You got to make this whole thing with branching paths, and then on top of that, it has to somehow fit into the Star Wars canon, which is one thing the KOTOR didn't have to worry about when it came out. The Star Wars Story Group wasn't really trying to make sure that everything lined up. There was expanded universe stuff, and there was stuff in the movies, and it was kind of just, no one was too stressed about it. People argue on message boards. Since then, we've had this bizarre situation where you look at Marvel, which does have canonical intertwining timelines and universes and all that, the multiverse and all that crap, and they have completely bizarro video games happening from different publishers. They've got movies doing different things in different dimensions. It's people figure it out. It's fine. Meanwhile, Star Wars, which is rooted in mythology, a thing where stories are reinterpreted every which way, is somehow beholden to one core golden timeline.
Yeah.
Which feels
the Insomniac Wolverine is not the one in the MCU.
And no one's bothered about it. It's
and no one
fine.
cares
Yeah.
because it's like, just let me play the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like we grew up playing a bunch of like non-canonical Star Wars games that they labeled the expanded universe, and I didn't care that the Yoda in Yoda stories wasn't the same one, you know. He wasn't the same dude from Dagobah.
Yeah.
But this is just like it's like you're at a restaurant and somebody's like, I'm excited to announce dinner, and you're like, fucking lunch has been in the oven for 7 hours and we're hungry. We're sitting here, we're banging our forks and shit on the table, and it's like, just put just put out the ones that you already announced.
So, but like, hear me out. The thing I'm worried about with this canon, the story thing, the tagline for this is "The fate is in your hands." How do you have a canonical timeline there? Like, how do you? And again, it's possible. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I remember asking, I think the creative director for Star Wars Outlaws. I feel like I had this conversation. Well, why is K-Vess a singular character? Why can't we swap between like boy K-Vess and girl K-Vess like you can in, you know, the Far Cry games or Assassin's Creed or whatever? And he said because she's a canon character, like she fits into that universe and she's, you know, she has sort of a static existence. But that's an entirely different issue if you've got an RPG where people are rolling their own versions of the character and making their own choices and their own decisions. And you know, I'm assuming that every single one of those different choices and endings is going to have to get signed off on and make sure it's not butting up against any other corner of the Star Wars canon. And again, you know, the Old Republic is kind of a blank slate at this point. You know, like there's whatever happened in KOTOR, and there's little tidbits that have been kind of cherry picked and dropped into other parts of Star Wars lore. You've got James Mangold doing allegedly a distant prequel set 25,000 years before the original trilogy, and then there was the High Republic, which was like 300 to 500 years before, and you've got little bits of mythology that kind of line up here and there. So whatever's happening in the Old Republic, you know, they've got to figure out how that lines up with everything else they've established. They can't just kind of, you know, take a bunch of big swings and get weird with it. And at the same time, the other thing that's a problem with it being the Old Republic is that people have these expectations because of KOTOR and KOTOR 2. People have this idea of what those experiences were, never mind the fact that that was 20 years ago. Like those are old games. And what constitutes a good RPG in 2026 or 2029 or whenever this game is coming out is going to be a very different experience from what people are used to. And you know, again, I wonder why did they called it Fate of the Old Republic to get people excited because it's reminding them of the KOTOR games. But I feel like that's at the same time it's putting a big double-edged sword above their heads and just leaving it hanging there.
Star Wars future project announced.
They could have called it Star Wars Fate, you know? The Old Republic thing, I just feel like it's just a, you know, a ball and chain hanging on there. So again, I want this to be a very cool game. I want to play a great new Star Wars video game, but I also have been waiting for some new Star Wars video games for a cool minute. I've heard about a lot of them getting canceled. I've heard about a lot of Star Wars movies getting announced and then getting canceled. And at this point, it's just boy, you cried wolf. And I'm just kind of tired of it. And I feel like it's a problem when a big, huge reveal for a new installment in a medium I adore, in a franchise I've loved forever, makes me more annoyed than anything else. And looking at the comments on this trailer, like I don't think I'm the only one where it's just, you know, pre-order your vaporware now. Again, I hope the game comes out. It should come out, but it's gonna be a cool minute. So, yeah.
Star Wars, y'all.
Yeah.
Hater.
Hey man, you're not a real Star Wars fan unless you hate Star Wars.
We're like hate of the Old Republic, am I right, you guys?
Oh,
Look at this
boy.
hater over here.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip from Beyond, IGN's weekly PlayStation show. You can find the full episode over on youtube.com/IGN Games. And don't forget, new episodes of Beyond drop every Wednesday on IGN.com, the IGN Games YouTube, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks again for watching, and as always, Beyond.